scab for the bosses, don't listen to their lies. Us poor folks haven't got a chance unless we organize. Which side are you on?
All right. We are live. We're here. Phoebe, I wanted to bring this up because I've been thinking about it.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch Jimmy Neutron growing up?
Oh yeah,
of course, a classic,
Got a
right?
blast.
Got a blast.
Yes.
So you know his friend Carl,
Yes.
the fucking goat himself, Carl.
Yeah.
Well, Carl, I was just thinking about him, and I really like how this man's is such a fucking alpha pilled Giga Chad that like he only cares about two things, and that's fucking llamas and banging Jimmy's mom. Like he wants to.
So
bang.
true. That's right. Yeah, that was like a central plot point was how bad he wanted to fuck Jimmy's mom.
To fuck Jimmy's mom.
Jimmy's mom.
Yeah, like damn. And I was just thinking about that, and I was like, damn, that's like that. His whole personality was llamas and wanting to fuck Jimmy's mom,
and his like scapula getting hurt.
Oh yeah. That was
Scapula.
yeah, his scapula.
Yeah.
Damn.
Good
damn.
with the sauce, honestly.
True.
Carl Weezer is the quirked up white boy that busted down sexual style. He is.
And he is and therefore he is in fact goated with the sauce. Yeah, he's got to be.
Undeniably.
Yeah. No, I was thinking about good old Carl. What's his last name? Fucking Weezer, yeah.
Because he had asthma. He had really bad asthma.
Kind of a fucked up joke, but
a little bit.
Quality.
Also, I was watching what were we watching? The Conjuring.
Oh, nice.
And I like have the subtitles on always because I don't hear very well. And it's like there's like this old creepy woman sitting in a chair, and she's like "Brr," like making scary noises, and the subtitles said raspy gasping. And I was like, first of all, it's a great fucking band name.
Great band name.
Second of all, like, yeah, raspy gasping is just asthma for you.
Isn't there a word for that? Isn't it just wheeze? Like,
I guess they could have said wheeze, yeah, but they felt the need to type out raspy gasping.
They really had to like nail down what she was doing.
Yeah,
which was
I feel like they want to
gasping.
make the subtitles spooky as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Like when I was watching Hereditary one time, and like it doesn't show what's going on, and sometimes like subtitles I feel like will pick up things that you can't hear even as like a well-hearing person, and so the subtitles is just like squelching noise, and I'm like, oh, what the fuck is this gonna be?
What the fuck is that?
Like, no.
And then it always like kind of like spoils it, but then just like scares you more because you're like, what's
yeah, I'm like,
coming?
What's gonna happen?
Ew.
Raspy gasping.
For sure. Anyway, remarks podcast.
We do
leftism
it every week.
Karl Marx.
You come
sexy.
here. Yeah. Big
jizz.
Jizz. Big fat asses. All of that.
Yeah.
Really.
All the things we're known for, basically.
Yeah.
And we're talking about Russia.
Yeah.
Mother Russia.
Mother Russia. The current situation that is happening right now that we're all living through. That is unbelievably stressful.
A little stressful, a little traumatic.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
That's the trauma makes it fun.
Who doesn't want to live through, life-altering events nearly once a month?
Yeah, no, for sure, everybody does.
Yeah.
It's good, as well as cool. Yeah.
Yeah, but we hear remarks that we just wanted to give you a little background information as to what the fuck is going on and why the fuck it's going on. And then, and of course, who else would give that to you but our history correspondent, Taylor.
History correspondent. I like that. I like the sound of that.
I was like, that's a good word.
Yeah.
And then, of course, our current events correspondent will be giving you what the fuck is happening this moment. So,
live on the ground.
Not
really.
Thankfully not.
But thank goodness not.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So take it away.
Yeah, we're going to jump into it. So, as I'm sure you and the listeners are all aware, there's a good amount of history that goes into any kind of conflict, especially 20th century conflicts. I feel like gone are the days of like the good guys versus the bad guys. And one could argue that the good versus evil dichotomy was always a vague musing to justify the actions of world leaders, but very few conflicts throughout history have a hero and a villain. Like, I'd say like World War II, for the most part, had kind of a villain. which was like
Right.
the Nazis. But then again, like even then, it's not always as clear. Like Nazis are bad, America is also bad. So
Yes.
But yeah, so like I'm sure I'm not going to cover everything that has happened and all of the intricacies. And yeah, you can comment and have a discussion, of course. But
Totally.
yeah, I'm not like a Russian or Ukrainian expert. So
Exactly.
we're just going through the big stuff here. So the history of Ukraine wanting independence from Russia dates back centuries, but for our purposes, we are going to start at the Revolution of 1917, when the Bolsheviks took control of Russia, ending the reign of the Tsar, and the Tsarina. On January 7th, 1919, Vladimir Antonov Ovesenko, Vladimir Zantanovsky, and a young Joseph Stalin led an attack on Ukraine, who was attempting to gain independence from the Soviet Union because of all the, overthrowing the government and stuff.
Yeah.
All of
that.
Yeah, I love a good overthrowing the king. The Soviet Red Army fought against the Ukrainian National Republic, as well as the Revolutionary Insurgent Army of Ukraine, a.k.a. the Black Army, led by anarchist daddy Nestor Makhno.
Hey!
True. So yeah, this is like a big part of, because, Ukrainian anarchists were a big thing fighting against the Red Army. Just because, and it's funny too, because like they kind of wanted the same things, but they just, again, like had different ideas, which, what's new? Yeah. What's new? Alas, most of the territories in Ukraine became controlled by the Soviet Union or became part of the Second Polish Republic. Ukrainian nationalists would continue to wage guerrilla war on the Soviets. I believe that nationalists in this time was referring to folks who were fighting for an independent Ukraine, not necessarily like nationalists as we understand them, But keep that in mind because it does become important later on. Now we jump about 70 years to the year 1990. Pagers, all the rage.
Yep.
My mom was in high school. I don't know. Backstreet Boys were big.
Yep. Good stuff. Britney
was big.
Starting her career.
Yeah. What other good 90s things were there? Jinko jeans.
Yeah.
Jinko jeans. Ugly, but cool.
Yeah. Dahlia's catalogs.
True. Sears in general.
Sears was still a thing.
Yeah. So what a good time.
Dial up.
Ukraine saw more than 400,000 people protesting the Soviet Union and the Soviet Union's authoritarian communism. And on July 16th of 1990, the Ukrainian parliament voted to become independent from the Soviet Union. Soldiers were pulled from the USSR, and the Chernobyl power plant is shut down in northern Ukraine. Yeah. Call back to Chernobyl.
Which blew up in 85, I believe.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Wild. I know, it is wild because you think that that's older than it is, but...
No, I know. I think that every time.
Yeah.
I always am like, that type of thing, that doesn't happen soon.
Recently,
but it totally did. As well as, like, when you think about, like, the fall of the Soviet Union, that was 1990, right?
1991.
91, yeah. And, like, that seems so fucking recent.
I know,
like,
it's
thinking
weird.
about, like, the Soviet Union feels, like, old-timey, like, forever ago. But, like, not really that long ago.
5 years before I was born?
Yeah.
4 before you were born?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, crazy.
Yeah, weird.
Yeah, crazy stuff. So some political fuckery took place the following year. Communist hardliners attempt to take control of the USSR from Gorbachev, but this coup attempt fails, and the Ukrainian Communist Party didn't want to be associated with the coup, so they like supported the independence of Ukraine, which removed a major roadblock in the process. Because the Russian Communist Party was like, oh, Gorbachev, he's fraternizing with the enemy, so let's overthrow him. It didn't work. And then the Ukrainian Communist Party was like, oh shit, we don't want to like look like we're supporting fucking that.
Right.
So they were like, yeah, we want to be not part of Russia as well, even though probably earlier or, normally they would have probably opted to stay a part of the communist Russia.
Sure.
Ukraine again declared its independence on August 24th, 1991, and that is considered its Independence Day still. The vote for Ukraine to be independent was supported by about 92% of the people, and in December of that same year, the Soviet Union dissolved. Mm-hmm. So, Ukraine, being its own boss, now begins discussions and cooperation with other nations outside of the now-defunct USSR, and the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO, contemplates adding Ukraine to its list of anti-communist countries, but Ukraine doesn't join and opts to stay neutral between Eastern and Western ideologies.
Right.
Which is kind of the crux of, like, what Ukraine's struggling with, really, is, like, it's like the Cold War Part 2 Tokyo Drift. Like,
exactly.
It's insane, actually, how much it's just the same shit that was happening. Yeah. It's now just, like, not called the Cold War.
Yeah.
A deal is struck that Ukraine will remove its nuclear weapons, which had been stockpiled pretty heavily by the Soviets, as long as the US, the UK, and Russia agree to respect its independence. It's worth noting that during this time, Ukraine is playing the neutrality card pretty hard, trying not to rock the boat with Russia or the West, and things stay pretty chill for quite some time. I think that if Russia had a leader that probably wasn't Gorbachev, then Ukraine would have got invaded real quick after that. But I think Gorbachev was kind of trying to keep things like chill at the time, you know? Like, obviously, he was, like, working with Ronald Reagan, and they dropped the Berlin Wall and stuff.
Yeah,
like,
he was a bit more, like, woo.
Yeah. Kind of, and again, not to say that any of this is, like, a good or a bad thing.
No,
this
totally.
is just the fucking facts of it, you know?
Right, yeah.
In 2008, Ukraine attempted to join NATO, which was supported by George W. Bush, who you may know as the person who did 9/11.
Yes, exactly.
But not by France or Germany, after Russia voiced displeasure at the idea. Now, Phoebe,
yes,
you may be asking yourself, why would France and Germany side with Russia on the matter? Mm-hmm. I don't know if that crossed your mind.
Sure.
Well, I'm sure there's a variety of reasons, but did you know that Russia provides about 35% of natural gas that is sold into Europe? It's a pretty big chunk of fuel.
Yep.
That would be lost by fucking with Russia.
Yeah.
And all of that fuel, this I kind of talk about later on, goes right through Ukraine. There's not any, so like the pipelines are built directly through Ukraine.
Right.
And that's a very big source of income for Russia, is the fuel.
Totally.
To compromise, NATO decides that Ukraine will someday join, but there's no set time frame on when that will happen, and no plan is put in place to achieve the goal. So it's back to like a relative standstill.
Yeah.
Which I just find very funny that they're like, we'll get you someday. And then everybody was just like, okay. Like it's very funny. In 2010, President Viktor Yanukovych was elected and continues to stay neutral between Russia and NATO, keep good relations with Russia throughout the first years of his presidency. In 2014, however, Yanukovych refused to sign an agreement with the European Union to bring Ukraine into a free trade agreement and closer political associations with the EU. This resulted in the Euro-Maidan protests. Yanukovych claims he declined the deal due to Russian pressure to stay in closer circles with Russia and the Eurasian Economic Union. So, again, natural back and forth, European Union, Eurasian Economic Union, or whatever, fighting for Ukraine. The Ukrainian police end up killing more than 100 protesters during this time. Yanukovych is voted out of office by a parliamentary opposition and flees to Russia, who does not view the new government as legitimate and believes that there was a coup that took place on this president. And that's kind of the thing, is like Yanukovych, I don't know exactly like what his personal intentions were, but he was the one that was kind of keeping closer ties with Russia at this time. He was making it so that like Russia was chill. Yeah. I guess. And we'll get into some more of the reasons why in a second. Like Russia was is so like persistent about having control over Ukraine, either in like a direct sense or just like with ties with its political leader.
Sure.
But But jumping back in time a little bit, around 2012, it was found that Ukraine was sitting on huge pockets of natural gas that the country itself is not in a position to begin cultivating. This, of course, wasn't an issue for as long as as long as Ukraine was under Russia's thumb, and wouldn't hurt Russian exports of the fuel. But if a newer, more pro-West government were to take shape, it's possible that Ukraine would begin to make deals with Western fuel companies to start to use the resources that it was sitting on.
Right.
And again, being that natural gas and providing natural gas to Europe is such a big part of Russia's economy, they don't want this to happen.
Yes.
And there was actually already deals that were being struck up with ExxonMobil and Shell to start drilling in Ukraine. So, everyone say it with me. Oil.
Classic oil companies.
Good stuff.
Yikes.
Honestly, show me a war in the past 100 years that hasn't, I guess now because World War II. Show me a war in the past 50 years that hasn't been over oil.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
It's insane.
It truly is.
After the 2014 revolution, Russia wasted no time in annexing Crimea, which happens to be about 2/3 of the Ukrainian coastline, which would account for 80% of Ukraine's offshore oil and gas reserves, and billions of dollars in drilling equipment that was then seized by the Russian government, and Exxon and Shell quickly backed out of their deals and contracts previously discussed with the Ukrainian government. So it's not... And again, we'll get into some of the other potential quote-unquote reasons why Russia is invading Ukraine, but in my expert opinion, I mean, money is money, right? That's the fucking thing that makes the world go around, unfortunately, and that's why I think that's the main factor behind why Russia is doing all that it's doing, is because not only does that, and I'll say it here in a second, but not only do they now are keeping Ukraine from exporting oil, but now they're controlling all of those resources that Ukraine was on.
Right.
Russia moves forces closer to Ukraine's border, and violence breaks out between the Donbas region of Ukraine, between Russian-supported separatists and the Ukrainian government. So kind of just as before, there's always going to be these Ukrainian separatists that are fighting against Russia to be their own independent nation. Tensions are high, but this effectively stops any threats of NATO invasion or gas competition against Russia for this time period. Again, this is in 2014 to 2015 that this is happening. Now, you may have heard that Putin had some ramblings about how there were a bunch of Nazis and white supremacists in Ukraine. And while most Western media has brushed those off as the delusional shouts of a madman, Putin actually isn't incorrect. During the 2014 revolution, the Svoboda, which is an openly fascist and neo-Nazi party, helped to overthrow Yanukovych's government, and the militia is now an official part of the Ukraine National Guard. It is not uncommon to see Ukrainian soldiers with SS patches and symbols on their uniforms. The Azov battalion contains many members that are far-right Holocaust deniers, and it's just kind of the whole... It's again, right-wing militias, right? They got... Think of I don't know, any Southern pro-Trump militia that's formed, and it's going to be very similar in ideology to those guys, those lads down there.
Those lads. Well, and also, in our own actual instated military, there are people that have those ideologies. The government isn't saying ordering them to do things based on those ideologies, but they carry those ideologies strongly, and that affects what they do. For sure.
It's the same with cops too. There's a huge alt-right force, and it's because again, if you're going to be pro-militant state, and pro-military, pro-police, all that, you're probably going to be a fascist. That's kind of
odds
the thing.
Are.
The roll of the dice, but you're probably going to be it. Crazy stuff.
Crazy stuff.
Now, do I think that Putin's only goal is to overthrow these Nazi battalions? No. I think that there's definitely more to do with oil. But I don't think that this is necessarily like something that he's not worried about, you know? Like, it's one of those tricky things because it's like, I don't think that Putin is acting out of the kindness of his heart and he's like, oh, I'm going to stop this Nazi problem that Ukraine has. But also, like, the Western media is not telling and not reporting that like, oh, Ukraine has a Nazi problem.
Yeah,
you know?
right.
Like, it's a big deal, actually.
Yeah.
You know what else is a huge, whopping, giant...
Pendulous,
swinging...
fat,
robust,
if you will.
deal. Balls.
Is it products and services?
It is, in fact, a product and potentially a service.
Well, amazing. Let's swing them on in.
Swang them on in.
Swang them in.
We're fucking back, dude. Like, it's kind of crazy, actually.
It's kind of crazy how back we are.
It's wild, actually. Like, you ever, like, baby got back, and we are baby, and we have the back.
Yes. Yeah. You know, like, baby back ribs?
Yeah.
You know, like, I want my baby back.
Mm-hmm.
Baby back ribs?
Exactly.
We're the back part of that.
True. Yeah. We're like, we share a lot of similarities with the McRib in that we are, in fact, back.
Like, you know that song, My Boyfriend's Back?
Exactly.
That's us. Which, by the way, I literally thought that song was a girl, like, singing about her boyfriend's, like, physical back.
Oh, no.
Like, I thought she was just, like, talking about how much, like, she likes her boyfriend's back. Which I get it. Backs are nice.
I mean, yeah.
I've seen a nice back.
They can be nice for
in my
sure.
day.
Especially like the back muscles and they're flexed.
It's nice.
Like, and they're nice. It's cute.
But no, the song was in fact about her boyfriend returning, much like we have on Remarks podcast.
Wow, good transition. So how are you feeling so far? Do you have any thoughts on Russia, Ukraine?
I'm feeling like this is a long withstanding conflict. I'm feeling like it's very complex. I'm feeling like I'm just really sad for honestly for both nations, for both like civilians.
That's how I feel.
Living in the nations.
Yeah.
And I feel like war bad.
Yeah, war bad, sick,
I think.
Actually. But yeah, so let's finish this up here, I suppose. I don't have too much left, but
catch us up.
Let's catch us up. Well, so jumping into it here, as I'm sure you're aware, throughout 2021, the crisis elevated between the battles for Western influence and Eastern influence in Ukraine. It's almost like the Cold War didn't end, which is crazy. Yeah. To summarize, there are a lot of reasons why Russia would invade Ukraine. First, and I think the most likely reason, is because of the potential for Ukraine to be a major competitor with Russia in the area of selling natural gas and oil to Europe, and specifically Eastern European countries. If Ukraine stays under Russian control, then not only does Russia not have a competitor, but then also controls even more natural resources than it did before. And that would be a good thing for Russia, considering that that is a large portion of its GDP, gross domestic profits.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Fancy
word user over here. And also because Russia has been in decline, kind of quote unquote superpower wise since the fall of the Soviet Union. So controlling more natural gas would help in that area. Secondly, there is some concern for national security. If Ukraine falls under NATO influence, this leaves a large open point for an invasion of Russia. that hasn't been a point of worry for Russia in a long time because of the territorial might of the Soviet Union. During, again, most of the 1900s, that section of Ukraine was controlled by the Soviet Union, so they were able to put a lot of guns there, basically. During both World Wars, though, Russia was invaded through Ukraine, and as it provides one of the best places to do an invasion. NATO is also known for its fuckery in other nations. It has initiated military operations in Bosnia, Yugoslavia, and Herzegovina. Herzegovina. Is that how you say that? I did not know.
That's words are hard.
Words. NATO was created as an anti-communist alliance and now could just be meddling in other countries for Western interests. Yeah. Which, in my opinion, was kind of always what it was created to do. But it's a little bit more obvious now, because, again, the Soviet Union fell. There's not really a communist country any longer.
Yeah, right.
And really, I mean, again, arguably, the Soviet Union wasn't, like, pure communism. Yeah. It was, like, an authoritarian communism. But you're just getting into the weeds at that point, I guess.
Truth.
And then thirdly, while I think that the neo-Nazi militias in Ukraine are a major concern, I believe that is probably the lowest on the list of Putin's reasons for invading Ukraine.
That would also be my guess.
Although I do think that it is part of the list. I don't think that, like, Putin is pro-Nazi. Like, I think, yeah. Like, I don't think... And I don't know, I was kind of worried in writing this that I would sound a little too, like, pro-Putin. It's like fuck Putin, for sure.
Yeah.
Like, and fuck governments altogether, But no, I don't think that, like, he's stoked that there's a bunch of Nazis in fucking Ukraine, but I don't think that that's, like, his main reason for invading them.
Yeah, I think that, like, that's a nice thing to say, but I think that there's some other real nice bonuses that he could get out of doing this. And
then I think that's also why it's funny that no one in America or anywhere else that's supporting Ukraine is talking about how there's a lot of Nazis there.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, like when they're fighting on our side, we're chill with it, but that's
Yep.
It's something.
Yep.
Going into this research, I definitely thought that I would find more of a clear picture of who to support and who's in the wrong, but mostly I've kind of just come to the conclusions that, like, fuck countries, fuck your leaders, fuck your invisible lines on the ground that mean nothing, and fuck money. That's like that's how I feel. It's like, I support the Ukrainian civilians, I support the Russian protesters who are fighting against the war, and fuck the countries involved, like the actual governments.
Yeah, straight up.
That's, I don't know, that's kind of the conclusion I came to.
Which I feel like that's the thing in, like, a lot of, like, conflicts like this. It's just like fucking, well, you've said it a million times, leaders making us fight their wars for them.
Yeah, it's how war be, like, literally. Because, I mean, and again, I saw this thing that was, like, the Ukrainian president, like, staying in the country when he, like, had the option to evacuate. And it's just like, okay, but, like, he's not, like, on the front lines shooting people with machine guns. No, like, he's in the country, but he's got, like, extra protection because he's the president of Ukraine. Like,
absolutely.
It's just, it's like, like, I mean, rarely was there ever a period where, like, a king would, like, or a leader would, like, fight a battle.
Exactly.
But honestly, like, mad respect for fucking kings that actually went out and fought battles with, like, their country or whatever.
Yeah, because you're, like, actually participating in the war that you started.
Exactly. Or, like I know, like, George Washington, I think, like, marched with, like, his, and, like, kind of fuck George Washington, like, when we had slaves and shit, but, like, like, he actually marched with his military. It's like, okay, like, then I feel better about you being, like, in control of the military if you're gonna, like, actually go out there and fucking march with them. Like, because, like, your life is in just as much danger as, like, these people that you're sending to go get fucking killed. Like,
exactly.
Yeah. It's something.
It's something. Sometimes that's all we have.
That's all we can say. But yeah, so that was a pretty brief, I think brief, but like kind of hit on the biggest points of kind of the lead up to why Russia is doing what it's doing. Again, you can have like different opinions on the specific reasons why, like whether it's national security, whether it's oil, whether it's fucking Putin's just a great guy.
Yeah.
But like, I just think that like on the U.S. end, like it's been kind of boiled down to like Putin bad.
Exactly. No, exactly.
And it's like, yeah, I think Putin sucks, but like it's more complex than just Putin wanting to control Ukraine. Like there's reasons, I guess.
Yeah. And like this is once again one of those things where like you need to report on and discuss the fucking nuance of these things. Otherwise, like you're going to create unnecessary fucking issues.
Yeah. It's like we're gonna fucking start seeing like Russian businesses that are going out of business because like Russian businesses in the US because people are fucking terrible about that stuff. It's like it's what happened with the fucking Asian owned businesses during the pandemic. It's
exactly.
It's like this family that owns a fucking like ramen shop didn't start the pandemic.
Yeah,
you know?
right,
like,
exactly. And like fucking
chill out.
Somebody over here with some Russian family owning their like whatever isn't like invading Ukraine. They're literally live in America.
They're not responsible for invading Ukraine.
But people just can't like think like
separate
this.
That,
and I mean, not to no fault of their own because come on, people. But like it's not like the American government isn't helping influence that.
Yeah. And the media, like, and then how the media portrays things.
Which, is like, starting out like my notes, I wanted to say, like, most of the sources that I found on this are biased toward Ukraine, or at least are anti-Russian.
Exactly.
Like CNN, BBC, like, every source I found, it was difficult to find something that was just like, this is what happened. And it was more like definitely everything had a piece that was like a distaste towards Russia rather than just straight up saying like this is what's going on.
Well, and just like I was saying, it's because like we are in this Eastern-Western battle over influence of Ukraine. So it's like obviously we're going to support Ukraine in this situation because we want to be the ones that like we want them to beat Russia so that we can fucking control them.
Exactly.
Like,
so we can get at their oil.
Exactly.
Like,
and that's really how it is. Because again, Exxon and Shell were there, ready to drill their fucking resources.
Exactly. And it's not because they're like, let's support the Ukrainian people. No. Why do you fucking think they're over there trying to sign a contract immediately?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and we're ranting at this point, but it's just like, again, it would be one thing if we were truly pro-Ukrainian, like the actual people of Ukraine, we would be helping them get the infrastructure and the capabilities to use these resources themselves and have it benefit the people of Ukraine. But we're not going to do that.
Opening things up to Ukrainian refugees?
Exactly. Perhaps? Yeah, that would be crazy.
So crazy.
Yeah. So, pretty dumb.
Yeah.
Anyway, take it away.
I will tell you what has been happening these last, like, honestly, just in this last, like, I don't know, 2 weeks or something.
Yeah.
So, as of 2022, like less than a month ago, on February 24th, after broadening troops at Russia's border, Vladimir Putin announced that announced what we were all fearing in the pit of our stomachs, something that he is calling a special military operation in Ukraine. And this is important to note. Like, you will not see him or any like Russian officials or Russian media refer to this as a war or an invasion or anything like that. They will always call it special operations. As well as you will see, there's a kid he might not be a kid. I don't know how old he is, but there's this person that I follow on TikTok, and I think his name is, it's like Nikki Proshnik or something like that. Sorry if I'm not saying his name right. And like his TikTok literally is mainly just him going around and he's like, things that make you realize you're in Russia, and like just shows like things in Russia, things that are common in Russia, or he'll teach you Russian words, whatever. He's this kid that lives in Russia. And he did a live and was kind of talking about things that were going on in Russia, giving his like his side from the Russian perspective. Anyway, and he noted that too, that like you'll see a lot of Russian citizens not using terms like war or invasion or anything like that. They'll also say special operations because they could get potentially in trouble for using terms that sound like anti-Russian, basically.
Damn.
Yeah, kind of intense. I'll look up his name on break and I'll let you guys know because he actually is really great to follow. Anyway.
True.
So he announces this quote-unquote special military operation in Ukraine. Putin said that he had decided to, quote, conduct a special military operation to protect people who have been subjected to abuse and genocide by the Kiev regime for 8 years. In this announcement, he claimed that Russia was not going to occupy Ukraine. He said, quote, we are not going to impose anything on anyone by force. Which obviously is untrue.
That's, kind of the opposite of what they're doing.
Not fucking true at all. So,
insane.
But to then follow that, he made this ominous statement, quote, whoever tries to interfere with us, and even more so to create threats for our country, for our people, should know that Russia's response will be immediate and will lead you to such consequences that you have never experienced in your history.
Whoa.
Kind
of sounds very like I'm super badass and I'm gonna and you're never gonna forget the wrath of me. Like he's just very intense.
Yeah, and that's also like that's some heavy fucking shit to say.
Truly.
Like even if that is your what you're gonna do, or even if like let's say Russia was innocent in all of this or whatever, like that's a lot to propose when the whole world is looking at you.
True. Kind of intense.
To go along with what you were saying about the Nazi situation, he said one of the reasons why that they were going forward with this was they were seeking the demilitarization and denazification of Ukraine. He said, quote, all responsibility for possible bloodshed will be entirely on the conscience of the regime ruling on the territory of Ukraine.
Which again, they aren't wrong there. There's a bunch of Nazis in Ukraine.
Yeah. So less than an hour after this announcement, missile attacks on the capital of Ukraine, Kiev, and several other attacks on surrounding cities went down. The main targets of this attack were airports around the country. The main international airport receiving several missiles. Some of these airports held military bases. Some of these airports were just airports.
Civilian airports. Yeah.
Civilian areas around these cities also saw damage. Videos from Kharkiv, a city right on the Russia-Ukraine border, showed this like large building of apartments that had been hit and were like burning down and everything. If you have any interest in going to watch videos like this, they're kind of all over the place, especially on Twitter and stuff. It's not fun to watch, so don't do that if you don't want to see shit like that. I don't think that
trigger warning.
Yeah, I think that it's necessary to share these things. I'm kind of just going off right now. I think it's necessary to share these videos and stuff so that people see the reality of what's fucking going on and also believe and show the truth. But also, like, if you are not needing to see this intensity, don't go seeking it out.
Yeah,
I suppose.
Take care of yourself. But no, I think it's definitely important because again, it's the myth of what do they say? Fucking precision drone strikes, they don't exist. That anytime you're dropping a bomb, it's gonna kill innocent people, and that's just how bombs work.
Exactly. Well, we do live in a very interesting time right now because everybody has a camera on them at all times where they can upload things to the internet directly, and so I think it is really important for civilians and things to show what the fuck's going on. But anyway, I digress.
Yeah, it's another way of just the people having power. You can literally show everybody this is what is happening right now.
Yeah, literally at this moment we can go live. Okay, so about an hour later, video was captured showing Russian troops entering Ukraine from several different points, coming up from Russian controlled Crimea, as Taylor was saying. That's an area where Russian it's controlled by Russia,
controlled
so
by
there's
Russia,
troops
yeah.
there, so they can easily enter right there. They are crossing the border at Kharkiv and entering through Belarus as well, who is like friendly with Russia.
Yeah.
Which is like a whole thing that
Yeah, there's definitely like some more pro, again, maybe not necessarily pro-Russia, but just pro-Eastern like alliance countries in that area.
And they have a lot of like agreements with each other in like a fucking governmental way.
Which, again, it all ties back to the Cold War, because
Yes.
we're literally a Soviet Union controlled country. So it's all, again, it's all just fucking Cold War again, basically. Like,
Yep.
Cold War, but do it again.
Yeah.
Like,
And Belarus is on the east? No.
I'm not sure.
I can't remember. I'm so sorry. Anyway, but it's right up on the border, so they're coming also through Belarus. The Prime Minister of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, the one who liberals are being super weird about and are like thirsting after him and trying to make him into like a Marvel hero or something. Like they always have to make it fucking weird
Fucking
for whatever
liberals,
reason.
dude.
And I'm like, hey, did you know this man is a literally just, first of all, a human being, and second of all, a politician? So let's maybe not like
Chill out.
be like,
he's
gonna make everything okay. Like, no, maybe not. So
yeah, and that's just like liberal. I mean, it's just, they do the same shit with fucking Joe Biden.
exactly.
Like, maybe not thirst after Joe Biden, although some of them do.
Some of them do.
But like, yeah, it's all just like, oh, he's nice.
Exactly.
And it's like he's still a war criminal, probably.
Yeah. Yep.
Or Joe Biden for sure. I don't know about this guy, but
Yes. So the Prime Minister, Volodymyr Zelensky, he addressed the nation comparing Putin to Hitler and saying the way that Russia had attacked Ukraine was cunning and akin to how Hitler had acted in World War II. And he said that Russia is on a, quote, path of evil.
I mean, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
But also, you are the guy that has a Nazi militia as part of your National Guard. Like,
yeah.
And I think that that's a little bit of a funny statement when you do have actual Nazis with SS patches fighting in your National Guard. Like, fuck Russia. They are being evil.
Yes.
That's a bold statement for someone with fucking Nazis in their National Guard.
Yeah, there's a lot of...
It's a little,
There's a lot of Nazi being thrown around.
A lot of Nazi stuff happening here, yeah.
Yeah.
Which I'm not stoked about.
No.
Turns out Nazis, not very cool dudes.
Chill. Turns out Nazis still exist.
Still exist.
In the year of our Lord 2022.
Yeah, which is unfortunate.
It's something.
It's bad.
It's a time in which
a time
we survive. But you know what will cheer you up? The fine people at Anchor Podcast Distributing Services who may or may not play an ad after this ad break.
Absolutely will probably not if you're listening to this the day we record it. But in the future, if we ever get another advertiser,
retroactive,
potentially you may hear an ad.
Yes. So if you're listening to this in the year of our Lord 2024 or something, let us know if there's an ad now.
Let us know if there's an ad. Let us
future.
know how that war works out.
Yeah, that part especially.
Yeah, we'll be waiting for that.
Ooh.
Oh
God.
Ads. We're back. We're actually not front. Back.
We're not front bottom.
True. We're back.
Tops.
Yeah. Back tops.
Back tops.
There you go.
Really makes you think.
Society, man.
Society. Oh man. Okay. So, Volodymyr Zelensky compared Putin to Hitler, all of the stuff. Okay. So, Zelensky urged Ukrainian citizens to join the resistance regardless of military training. He called for veterans to aid in the fight. He said that the Ukrainian military was already working to defend the country, saying they were in, quote, heavy fighting, fending off attacks in Donbass in the east, in the north, and in the south. The enemy has sustained heavy casualties, and they will be even heavier. They came to our land. From today, our countries are on opposing sides of world history. Russia is on the side of evil, but it depends on the Russian people. The people of Russia will have to choose which path each of them takes. Everyone in Russia who has not lost their honor, they have time to come out and protest this war. So it's honestly sort of similar to what Putin said as well. Like, he was kind of like, this is on the Ukrainian people.
Yeah, they're both like, it's on them. Which, like, I guess in that scenario, I do kind of think it's more on Russia. Mm-hmm. But not even, because there is like
a really... the ones invading.
Yeah, there is a pretty big backlash from, like, Russian people, like, protesting.
Definitely.
I don't know if you'll be talking about that, but, yeah.
Not a lot, actually.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah, but I don't know, and again, it's just, it kind of, like, I don't know, that shit just rubs me the wrong way a little bit, because I'm like, the Russian citizens weren't like, yeah, let's fucking do this.
True.
It was the decision of the leader. I don't know. I'm like, yeah, you should definitely participate, like, in protesting against this, but, like,
True.
I don't know. I'm like, it's...
Yeah, it wasn't...
Some of us just gotta go to fucking work, man. Like...
Exactly. No, and it's like, okay, like, are you calling for, like, the Russian people to, like, overthrow their government?
Right.
Because, I mean, that would be tight, but, like, what do you, like, I don't know, like, what do you mean? Like, it's just, yeah, I guess, and especially as, like, one, like, leader of a country, it's like, I get on board with, like, yeah, overthrow your fucking governments,
yes.
but that means you too, my guy, so.
Right, yeah. Reminder again, this is all just taking place on day 1.
Crazy.
Yeah. So, in something that has already been named the Battle of Antonov Airport.
Oh, jeez.
Which is just fucking crazy to me. This was like a week ago.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Russian troops had taken control of the Hostomel Airport in Kiev, and the Rapid Response Brigade of the Ukrainian National Guard responded by launching a resistance and succeeded in shooting down 3 of the 34 Russian helicopters occupying the airport.
Wow.
Yeah. Russian troops continued advancing, and the missiles continued to fly. Around 2 o'clock, a hospital in Donetsk was bombed, killing 4 and injuring 10, including healthcare providers. Which is fucking bombing hospitals.
Yeah.
Schools.
Stop the bombing of the civilian things. Which, again, I mean, bombs always kind of hit. You can't really stop it, but...
Yeah. Around 4 o'clock, Zelensky announced that there was fighting between Russian and Ukrainian troops taking place in Chernobyl and Pripyat, cities that have been abandoned due to the fact that they are fucking radioactive.
Oh, yeah.
Literally still,
From
right
that
now.
little thing that happened.
That silly little
tiny thing. What is that fucking 40 years ago now, almost?
I don't know, because I'm not good at math, but I believe you.
About 40 years, I think.
Yes. Yeah, so still radioactive indeed. A few hours later.
Indubitably.
And also hold very unstable nuclear cores. A few hours later, Russian troops had taken control of the Chernobyl power plant.
I see.
Yes. Bad. Zelensky addressed this saying, quote, "Our defenders are giving their lives so that the tragedy of 1986 will not be repeated." Which he tweeted that. And he said, quote, "This is a declaration of war against the whole of Europe."
Yeah. Which, I mean, I guess.
Yeah.
Again, it's just like political leader talk. This is a very, very off topic, but not too bad. But what was the date of the Chernobyl accident? Do you remember?
I know it was 1986. I don't remember what month.
Okay. Well, so it was in 1986.
Yes.
Which therefore means it was, in fact, 15 years before Shrek 1 released in 2001.
Really makes you think.
Really makes you think. Well, like I said in our other episode, I'm going to start judging dates by where they are relative to when Shrek 1 released in April 22nd.
BS.
It was BS, yeah. Mm-hmm. And it was...
Before Shrek.
Yeah, April 22nd, 2001, when the titular Shrek released.
Shrek 1. So then, at about 10 p.m., Zelensky announced that 137 Ukrainians had died so far. And then around 11 p.m., Zelensky imposed a general mobilization of all Ukrainian men 18 to 60 years old and banned any men in that age range from leaving the country, essentially ordering a draft of sorts, kind of.
Yeah.
Basically saying if you are a man and you are 18 to 60, you are participating in this now. And also, you're banned from leaving the country, so you kind of don't have a choice.
Kind of insane, yeah.
Kind of insane. All of that is just day one of the Russian invasion. I'm going to go through the next days, taking us up to now. As I'm looking through this, there was, like, just a lot of, like, it's a lot of back and forth, and then it's a lot of, like, this missile and this missile, and so I'm not going to address all of that because it's just, like, it's war talk that I don't know or really understand that well. I just kind of want to give you guys...
We're not a war podcast.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, I just want to give you guys, like, this is what happened on these days so you know what the fuck is up.
Yeah.
These are events that will definitely shape the movement of this war going forward and what other country involvement is going to look like. So the next day, on February 25th, Kiev took another huge 2 hits from missiles. And on the borders of Kiev and Kharkiv, the Ukrainian defense was fighting hard against the Russian troops. However, on the south side of Ukraine near Donbass and on the border of Crimea, the Russian troops were having more success. So the Ukrainian people are having a bit of an easier time with resistance near, like, the border of Russia on Kiev and Kharkiv. However, on the other side near Crimea, the Russian defenses were...
very strong.
Yes. Russian special forces had repeatedly infiltrated Kiev and were reportedly looking to, quote-unquote, hunt government officials. Don't really know exactly where that wording came from, but that's what's been thrown around. In the independent Russian-supported province, Donetsk People's Republic, the Ukrainian military either intentionally or unintentionally fired explosives that hit a school and killed 2 teachers. So that obviously inflamed things quite a bit.
Well, I mean, yeah, if you're going to bomb a school. So.
Yeah. Volodymyr Zelensky announced new protocols to bolster Ukrainian defenses, calling for the people to create a stock of Molotov cocktails to use against the Russian troops. Literally.
It's wild. I mean, and again, it's like one of those things that, like, it sounds cool. Like, it sounds tight to be like, oh, like, we're making a militia, make them Molotov cocktails and stuff. But, again, it's more nuanced than that. Like, obviously, Ukraine, like, I mean, like you just said, they just bombed a school. Like, they're not blameless in this by any means, but... Well,
and I think that's something that, like, all of these, like, tanky, swag-pilled, fucking Giga Chad, like, leftists on Twitter are like, oh, sick.
Oh, like the pro-Ukraine?
Like, yeah, well, they're just like, oh my god, like the fucking prime minister or whatever, like, ordered them to make Molotov cocktails. That's so cool. It's like, none of this is cool.
Yeah.
0% of this is cool at all.
And it's, again, it's like, yeah, it's like, as, like, funny as that is, that, like, oh, like, make Molotov cocktails. Yeah. It's like, these are just normal-ass people,
exactly.
Right? Like,
they are literally completely untrained.
Yeah.
It is purely civilians.
And that, like, that's rough, you know? And again, I get, like, defending your land and, like, your community is important, and you should. But, like, it's, I don't know, it's still, like, a horrific situation.
Absolutely, yeah, exactly.
Playing it off like, oh, that's so wild, they're making Molotov cocktails is, like, a little cringe, y'all.
And another thing that I saw, like, fucking, of course, people sharing shit on their Instagram stories, but there was something, like, and it was, like, a picture of, like, homemade, like, weapons and shit that, like, Ukrainian people had made, and somebody was like, the Ukrainian people, it was, like, some fucking American white woman was like, the Ukrainian people don't need me, like, they're so strong, and this and that, and I'm like, first of all, what did you think that your participation in this was going to be? Second of all, like, no, they did, yes, please, they don't.
They need help. Yeah. Like, it's not,
Like, God. Oh my God, liberals. Anyway, so Zelensky called for Ukrainian citizens to make Molotov cocktails. 18,000 guns were distributed to Kiev residents from the Ukrainian government, and it was announced that anyone, regardless of age, was able to participate in the resistance. Okay, February 26th, at 3 a.m., more than 48 explosions in 30 minutes were reported in Kiev. untellable from which side it came from. Probably both, honestly, fighting against each other. Heated fighting continued in the capital city, leading to several reported casualties and more damage to civilian areas. Around 3 a.m., Ukrainian forces reportedly shot down a Russian plane. Russia kind of was like, no way, that didn't really happen. There's a lot of this going on the entire time of this, by the way.
Just
like, Ukraine says that they did something, and then Russia says, no, Ukraine didn't do that. And then Ukraine says that Russia did. It's just like, it's just back and forth of all this. Anyway.
Well, because it's like just as much of a media battle at this point as it is a real one, right?
Yeah,
like, no one knows what the fuck's actually like. You know, again, Russia wants to make it seem like they're doing what they have to do, and Ukraine wants it to seem like, you know, it's a fucking publicity battle.
Yeah,
too.
It's true. Russian troops advanced towards the Zaporizhzhia power plant, causing great concern. And both a Japanese and Moldovan ship were bombed by Russian forces. Ukrainian forces deterred Russian troops at Chernihiv and Kharkiv, temporarily stopping the push into those cities. Next day, February 27th, a Ukrainian gas pipeline and an oil depot were attacked, causing large explosions. But meanwhile, in Luhansk, another Russian-supported independent province, had an oil terminal that was bombed by Ukrainian forces that caused a large explosion. And then Russian forces took several more Ukrainian airports, and the push towards Zaporizhzhia continued. Bringing us up to this last week. On March 1st, 70 Ukrainian soldiers are killed in the city of Sumy in Kharkiv. 70 Ukrainian soldiers are killed in the city of Sumy, and then in Kharkiv, 10 civilians are killed and 35 are wounded by a Russian missile. Sorry, there's so many numbers here. The Ukrainian government announces that they are going to start selling war bonds, which feels so insane.
Oh, that's wild.
Like, what fucking year is it?
Yeah.
And then Russian forces attacked Ukrainian broadcasting towers, which led to the cutting of several TV channels and I believe also some radio stations.
Wild.
Yes. On March 4th, the advance to Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant comes to a head, with a missile hitting in the plant and causing a fire, but luckily missing the reactors, and no changes in radiation levels were detected. Yeah, thank God. A battle at the power plant continued until 3 Ukrainian soldiers were killed and Russia took control of the plant. Conflicting reports were made by both countries, of course, with the Russian Military of Defense claiming that it was a Ukrainian insurgency group who had caused the attack on Zaporizhzhia, and Ukrainian Defense Council saying that the attack was carried out by Russia. So,
yeah, again, whole lot of we don't know.
yeah. Whole lot of they did it, no, they did it. Ukraine requested for a no-fly zone, requested NATO to create a no-fly zone. Mm-hmm. NATO rejected this, saying that this would cause a full-scale war with Russia.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Which I'm pretty sure what they mean by that is, like, meaning it will move to other countries than just in Ukraine.
Well, yeah.
Because I'm like, it's a kind of a full-scale war already.
Yeah, it would just, it'd be like a full-scale war, like Europe against Russia, if they were to,
exactly.
completely, like, stop, air traffic through there.
Yeah, because that, like, involves several other countries. So then, on March 5th, a momentary ceasefire in Mariupol was called for in an attempt to evacuate around 200,000 citizens, but because fucking Russia and Ukraine leaders were arguing, the ceasefire was called off. So,
which, again, it's the leaders are arguing, so more people get to get shot and killed, more civilian people, like,
yep.
It's what's the fucking, I think we've talked about it before, but there's that fucking System of a Down song where BYOB, where he says, like, why do the poor always fight the wars or something, like that. Yeah. It's like,
exactly.
Yeah, same. It's a System of the Down based.
They are based.
Yeah.
So then, on March 7th.
Today?
Yes. Hold on, let me double
March
check.
7th today.
Let me double check that that's correct. I'm afraid I typed the wrong number on accident. Oh yeah, okay. Yes, literally today, on March 7th, The Vinnytsia International Airport was destroyed by Russian missiles. Oh, I'm sorry. No, that was on the 6th. So sorry, you guys. There's
it's all right.
so many
it's
things.
all right. It's a lot of dates.
It's a lot of dates. So yeah. So yesterday, the Vinnytsia International Airport is destroyed. Today, literally today, the mayor of Hostomel, Yuri Prilipko, was killed by Russian forces. 13 Ukrainian civilians were killed in Kiev, and Russian forces continue to take control of several more cities, as well as the Mykolaiv International Airport. These battles continue to take place in real time, and it's probably one of the most reported wars or reported like invasions of our time. And honestly, like all we can really do is kind of watch it happen as people who are not.
Yeah, and I was going to say it's kind of like a lot of the things that have been happening have almost reminded me of like the Spanish Civil War with like all of the volunteers that are going over to help Ukraine. And, like, it's obviously not like one-to-one, like it's different, but it's like very well documented. There are a lot of people who are over there.
Because like the last time something happened like this that wasn't in a fucking like African or Middle Eastern country was like World War II. And so
European country.
Like, this is definitely like we're getting literally daily and hourly updates of what the fuck's happening.
Although I know like Russia is technically like Eurasian, a Eurasian country, but Ukraine, I guess, is just like Eastern European. So it's like, there hasn't been like something like this since World War II.
Exactly. My last little piece I wanted to talk about is just the response from America has been the typical thoughts and prayers and online cancellations, which is always so helpful.
Really good, y'all.
Yeah. In an empty show of support that does literally nothing helpful at all, many people have taken to changing their profile pictures to the blue and yellow Ukrainian flag. And many associations have taken to unnecessarily banning random-ass Russian things from being a part of whatever the fuck, such as Russian cats being banned from the, like, International like Cat Federation.
Russian blues?
Yes, as if a fucking cat!
It's so stupid.
Like, I can't with this shit. It's so insane.
Are you putting these cats on, like, trial for war crimes? Like,
just in these little tiny handcuffs.
Exactly, these little, like, droopy-faced Russian blue cats. Like,
it's so crazy. It's just, like, it's so nonsensical and does literally nothing. As well as, like, so Russian and Belarusian gymnasts have been banned from international gymnast competitions. There's been, like, internet companies that are shutting off services in Russia, which is so fucking stupid. What the hell is wrong with you? Yeah. As if, like, every single Russian citizen is the one doing this. Yeah. Like, they need to live as well, you fucking idiots.
Well, and especially considering, like, the, internet and, like, those are, like, the things that people who are against this invasion are going to be using to communicate together and organize protests and things, but you're gonna shut off the internet there, like it's fucking frustrating. And again, I get like what they're doing, they're trying to like bully Putin into like stopping, but like dude, like you're just hurting. I mean, again, classic fucking, not the internet per se, but just classic like American involvement in things. Like you just end up hurting the people that live there. Like yeah, it's like wholly unhelpful and just an idiotic response. Because also, like, I mean, like we've been saying, like social media and shit allows people to like share the truth of what is going on. Yeah. And if Russian citizens, innocent Russian citizens, cannot share the truth of what's going on, then the fuck? Yeah, what the fuck are you doing?
Insane.
I don't know. It's stupid. Honestly, yeah, I don't know. If our if our podcast and our Patreon gets big enough, I will go be a conflict journalist in the next invasion that happens.
Absolutely.
I truly think that would be a terrifying but very like important thing to do, and I would actually love to do conflict journalism, but obviously you have to like be able to afford to do that.
I mean,
but I think it'd be really cool to do.
Yeah, and I mean, it is very important because you need, like, again, you need unbiased sources telling you this is what is happening.
Yeah.
Period.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, all the things you just went over, like, as you had to wade through all the, like, biased bullshit to find out just, like, what is happening, right?
Yeah.
Like, and give an accurate portrayal. So, I mean, and, like, that in a sense is a type of conflict journalism, but it's maybe not necessarily, like, on the ground.
Totally, yeah. Because, like, even most, like, a lot of people are not in love with Wikipedia, but honestly, like, that was one of the best sources I could find, because Wikipedia... Even though it's like
says the facts,
it's self-run, but yeah, like they do have very good editors, and they are wholly pretty much unbiased in what they put out.
Oh yeah, and then the nice thing about Wikipedia too is like you can find the sources for everything right there. It's like, yeah, don't just like read something on Wikipedia and be like, cool, going with it for forever. You know, it's like, yeah, like check the sources, but the sources are all listed. You can double check everything, and if it's not verified, it'll say it's not. Like
versus like even CNN, like as much as they are great and everything, like it was, as I was reading, I was like, this is very biased. Oh
yeah, I mean all of it is, and that's like, and that's the thing too, is it's like I've seen, like on the other side of things, I've seen a bunch of like people, you know, more like tanky Soviet Union people who are like, notice like blah, 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 Russia isn't that bad. It's NATO's fault. It's NATO this. And it's like, yeah, fuck NATO for sure. And fuck Joe Biden for taking credit and being like, NATO's becoming great again.
Yeah.
Or, you know, look at what NATO's doing. It's like, yeah, fuck NATO. It probably shouldn't exist because, again, it's a fucking relic of the Cold War that is probably just operating for Western interests now. But like, yeah, it's like, so it's just, people are fucking insane. If
I know,
because it's always about this bullshit geopolitical thing, like the geopolitics of it, and nobody's talking about like, oh, there's Ukrainian people dying, there's Russian people dying, like innocent civilians, like that, I don't know, just in my opinion, that's the shit that like we should care about.
That's what matters. And I mean, that's exactly what we were talking about last episode. Like, war is not sad. Well, I mean, whatever. What's the saddest part of war is not this country won over this country. The saddest part of war is a bunch of people were fucking killed over something unnecessary. Yeah, over something that they didn't start. Exactly. And really didn't have a part in, other than they were a soldier in it, and they died way too soon. Yep. And for the Ukrainian people, like, literally didn't have a say and were just civilians. Exactly. Like, had to fucking participate. Yeah. And yeah. So. I mean, and again, with any draft, it's like you are... What, there's fucking, you know, there's probably fucking people as young as like 16 or 17 that are fucking shooting people with homemade rifles and shit. Exactly. Like, it's sad. And it's sad. Yeah, that's the fucked up sad part. Yeah. That's the part that I feel like we should be worrying about. Exactly. And again, you know, fuck Russia, fuck NATO, fuck all these things. But yeah, people are fucking, innocent people are dying. Yeah. And like, I don't know, we liberals of fucking Instagram, instead of posting like, oh, a yellow and blue square, like, post about the people that are fucking dying. Yeah. That's the part that matters. I don't give a shit about your stupid virtue signaling ass Instagram story ass posts. Like, I'm so fucking sick of that shit. No, for sure. Sorry. No, it's okay. I will, and I feel like we can both probably do this, but we'll look into some of the things that people are saying as far as helping the Ukrainian civilians, and just like what the best the best things to do are. Because I know that there has been some talk I've seen online about like, oh, like this isn't a good thing to do, but like do this instead. Right. So I'll try to follow up on the Twitter, and I'm sure you will on the Instagram. Totally. And we'll see if we can get like some of the good like links to things to like support. Yeah. If you want to. Yep. For sure. Yeah. Well. Yeah, I think that's it. Wraps her up. Speaking of the Instagram. Speaking of all these dark and terrible things, you should follow us on our social media. Oh god, the fucking transition into this part after episodes like this is always like, it's like, anyway, you want to comment on our Instagram? You want to just look us up? Want to follow our stupid social medias? But do at Remarks Podcast on Instagram, at Remarks Podcast on TikTok. Taylor.
It is at RemarksPod on Twitter.com. It is at The Lefty Agenda, I suppose, on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Is my YouTube channel. You can leave us a review on Apple
Podcasts.
And we'll thank our patrons, RQ.
And yeah, if you would like, for $5 a month, to go subscribe to our Patreon, you can. As well as, I've posted about it. I'm going to post again, but we've got fucking stickers up, ready to go. Let us know if you want them. It's $1 singular, and they look fucking so sick.
True.
So hit us up.
$1 just so that we can cover the cost of making more.
Exactly.
When we want to.
Exactly.
So
as well as, if you are a patron, you get a free sticky.
True. Yeah, correct.
So.
Which is kind of sick, actually. I think you get 2, actually.
Oh, you do?
2
correct.
free stickies.
That is what we decided.
1 for your water bottle, 1 for your car.
Exactly.
But thank you to our first patron, Andrew Vass.
Thank you to our second patron, Emily Doran.
And Justin Vass. Sweet little baby.
Incredible. Well, thanks for listening. And
I love you. Bye.